Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It's that time of year. We're back. It's football season. You know what that means. I'm on edibles. 100 milligrams deep. This is Requiem for a Tuesday. I'm Adam Pecora. Gonna be a wild one. Back after a brief hiatus. So last week, well, twofold, threefold. Topics were a little light, as we know. Finally, that is over as the dog days of summer come to an end here and the NFL season begins. I will be rich with material. Of course, with many films and television shows coming out as well. So that was one factor. We were going to go with what that fucking swimming pool movie, what's it called? Like Night Swim or whatever. Dog shit, let me tell you. They're like, oh, the pool heals you, but there's also a little pool goblin who's going to come and snatch you up. Like, it was just not what I was looking for, gotta say. Although the guy, Kurt Russell's kid, who does look like Kurt Russell, who also used to be a pro hockey player, fascinating story. He's good. He was good and everybody wants some. Anyway, so there was that. There was a doggy death in the family. That was very unfortunate. Would have brought down the vibe a little bit. And number 3, moved the stew one room over with all my hubris and excitement, completely ignored the fact that this room's a giant echo chamber, which, doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not an architect, but, it's the same fucking house. Why is it so significantly different? Anyway, so came in here, tracked about 5 minutes. Not even. I could tell right away into my headphones that this was not going to work, and then you play it back, and it's literally like, it's like I recorded from inside of a steel pipe. It was just absurd. So, spent the last week dampening up the room, and still feels a little vibration-y to me, but I'm hoping this works, and we'll keep tweaking it. But there's now fabric all over the place. These walls are soft, and they're going to fucking stay that way. I'm not moving all this shit back. Okay. Woo! 100 milli going strong. Let's see. Okay. So, I ran through. We're doing the full. Well, okay. I don't know how much my plan is going to hold up because, these things tend to take on a direction of their own once we get going. But I ran through one of those season simulators. So you go through each week, the schedule's laid out, and you just pick winners. And it keeps track each week, and then that'll give you your playoff scenarios, and then you go from there. I will say right off the jump, I feel pretty shaky about the Eagles and where they ended up in this. They were the one team where I really couldn't rein them in. And I won't lie. Like I did save it week by week just to look back and laugh. I kind of plan on doing we're gonna hit a weekly sports corner, I feel like, and then just see how my picks matched up that week versus reality once we get there. And I'm sure that'll be a nightmare. Like, the Bears ended up being like 9-1, I think, to start the season or something. So I noticed a lot of records get like completely out of hand, and I did kind of try to finagle them down a little bit. So I think week by week it's going to be kind of crazy. But overall, I think the predictions kind of got where I think truly they would be. Again, outside of Philly, that gets really bad, and we'll get into that. So I'm going to break it down. I'm just going to go through the divisions, I think. See, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going to happen. And then, we'll do the general rundown per team, and then I'll just do what the record ended up as. in the theory thing. And yeah, you'll see how it goes. It'll make sense. I guess we'll do since to get things proper, we'll do the week 1 preview. I'll give you the list of all these picks. How's this sound? Okay? Now let's go. All right. So we got Kansas City, Baltimore this Thursday. Very excited that we're fucking back. This is the greatest thing that could ever happen. I got the Chiefs. That one could really go either way, obviously. But I believe the Chiefs are at home, so that's easy. Bengals, Patriots. I mean, I'm a little concerned about Joe Burrow's injury being a thing, but it shouldn't matter against the Patriots, like no matter what. So I think we're good with the Bengals there. Dolphins, Jags. I have no faith in the Jaguars at all. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has got it. Could be wrong. This would be the year for him to really stand out and step up and prove it. Either way, I mean, I just think Miami's offense is too high-powered. Like, name a guy on the Jaguars defense. I bet you can't. I don't think I can. Oh, well, Josh Allen hyphen whatever it is now. Sorry. Texans, Colts. I just think, how do you deny Houston, even if they don't live up to the expectations that they've created for themselves? They're better than Indianapolis. I mean, I think Anthony Richardson's athleticism is interesting, but I don't see how a guy with that little experience can just jump into the NFL and be great. So I think even if he can turn his career into a success, I don't think it happens in year 2 when year 1 was only like 4 games with injuries in those 4 games. Chargers, Raiders. I'm buying Chargers stock. I believe in Jim Harbaugh. I love Jim Harbaugh. I think if the Bears were being coached by Jim Harbaugh right now, and we're going to get into how upset I am about the Bears' perception going into week 1, as I've illustrated briefly on this show. No, probably a bunch of times. Who am I kidding? I don't even know when I do it anymore. I just think the Chargers are definitely going to have a good offensive line. I think everybody has been saying that the running back position doesn't matter and you can basically plug in whoever, so I don't think that they should be criticized for quote-unquote having no running backs. And if Dobbins can stay healthy, I mean, he's been excellent whenever he's played. Regardless, I have no faith in Antonio Pierce, and I do kind of think Gardner Minshew can win some games, but you know, I'm talking like leading people to victory in comparison to Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh. That just seems higher. Now we go to Bears, Titans. Of course, I have the Bears. I think the Titans will be better than they're getting credit for because they do have decent skill guys. I mean, they still have DeAndre Hopkins. They added Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley. Now they lose Derrick Henry, and so it's basically like, is Will Levis legit or not? And that'll be it. The defense is probably weak, but I know that they have Simmons and Snead at the very least. But is that enough to hold the whole unit together? I have no idea. But I just think Bears at home, incredible hype. We don't really know what the offense is going to look like. And I think that it's going to be a reality check for the haters, bro. That's what I think. I think that the fucking Chicago. Okay. I'm just going to do the rant now, okay? Because this is what happened. I was listening. Every sports thing I was listening to was underselling it. But the problem was also that people were hyping up Jaden Daniels. And I heard a lot of people be like, oh, Jaden Daniels, the sleeper for Rookie of the Year. And I get what they're saying, in terms of odds, because Caleb is the favorite. So you don't want to go with that. But then they'll contradict themselves. They'll be like, Jaden Daniels could light it up. The team's not going to be very good. And it's like, well, if the team's not very good, how's the quarterback going to be lighting it up? If the quarterback's lighting it up, the team will be doing well. It just doesn't make sense. All of a sudden, he's going to pull everybody together and elevate the entire team like a fucking vet, or he's going to play like a rookie with a shitty team. So that doesn't really make any sense. And then you try to flip that and say, well, oh, Caleb's a rookie. Rookies can't really be successful. Like, oh, high expectations. I think he's going to throw a lot of interceptions. It's like, what the fuck are you, like, why is it different for one guy and not the other? It's like, I get it. You're just trying to prove your pick in that second, but to flip around and do it like minutes later when people were going like team by team really bothered me. Like, it's just illogical. If you're saying that he's just like might not win the award, like that's one thing, but to act like a quarterback on a worse team will have better stats because the team is bad, that's like the first time anybody would ever say that. Okay, so then throw Drake May in on the Patriots. He going to light it up? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. You'd have to be fucking Justin Herbert, basically, to do that. Okay. Someone else said, like, they were, like, breaking down the positions. They're like, you go through Chicago skill guys. Like, they upgraded at receiver, but they got worse at every other position. It's like, we upgraded at running back, quarterback, offensive line depth, whatever. To say that they got worse at running back is like absurd. We lost Deontay Foreman and got DeAndre Swift. It's like the disrespect is just there, and I get it. You're supposed to think that the Bears are supposed to be one thing, and if everything comes to fruition, that will be different for the first time, and it will be jarring for people. I understand. That's why, like, I don't want to commit to thinking that it's real because I've just been hurt so many times. All right. Pittsburgh, Atlanta. I took Pittsburgh in here, and I don't really know why. I mean, Pittsburgh's defense is going to be great as always. I'm not buying Atlanta because I just don't buy Kirk Cousins coming back from the Achilles that soon. Could easily be wrong. He could easily be terrible in the first half, and they put Penix in, and he lights it up, and then there's a controversy there, and who knows? I just don't think Atlanta's going to win very many games. They added a lot of talent, though, so in theory, but I don't know. I think it's going to be like, I mean, we'll go through this. Their record doesn't end up very good, but it starts off like really bad from what I remember the way I put this together. Like, let's say they start like 4-9. I mean, the conversations are going to be, number one, either why sign Kirk Cousins and or why draft Michael Penix. Number two, you signed Raheem Mostert and said no to Bill Belichick, the greatest coach in the history of football. I think there's just too many goofs. They're just a big goof team. Ever since the 28-3 moment, they've just been a giant embarrassment. And everything, I mean, Desmond Ridder is on like a practice squad now, if that. He got cut from the Cardinals, I believe. Didn't even make the 53-man roster, and they were trying to make him the starter all year. I think if they would have went with Heineke for the year, that guy's nuts too, but maybe he would have been able to be consistent. I don't know. Whatever. The Falcons are just a mess. It's hard to believe that they'll just turn it around. But also, like, Russ is definitely washed. I wish Fields wins the job. Not even just because I'm still kind of rooting for him, but like we get a 4th-round pick if he plays 51% of the snaps. So that would be sick. Buffalo, Arizona, easy Buffalo. I mean, I'm excited to see Marvin Harrison Jr., though. That hype train is full steam ahead. Seattle, Denver, I got Seattle just because of, everything. I think Sean Payton's a great coach, but that roster still just isn't good. So, like, their best case is to, like, fight for 9-8, 8-9 like they were last year and be playing over what their win total should be, but, like, that's the ceiling. That's how I see it anyway. Browns, Cowboys. I got the Browns. I think the Cowboys come out and fall flat on their face, and I think they'll be fine and win a bunch of games still. I think just Cleveland comes out with a good, I love Cleveland's defense. I think, the Deshaun Watson thing's a total disaster. It's holding back this entire team, and they're fucked because they guaranteed everything. We all know this already, but, like, what a disaster. He needs to be able to play like he's like Joe Flacco. Like he needs to be 40-year-old Joe Flacco, and he can't even do that. Maybe this is finally he's back, but I don't see that. Jets Niners, I took the Jets in an upset. I think Aaron Rodgers just has like the bounce back comparison to last year and actually shows up and lights it up. And San Francisco will be fine, obviously. Let's see. What else do we got? Sorry, I'm using like a screenshot of this thing. Not the best on the edibles. Green Bay, Philly. I took Green Bay. Same thing. I think they just ride their hype into a win. But again, I made a huge mistake. I pick the Eagles like every week this year. The Eagles have like 13 wins. When we go division by division, it's going to be terrible. Saints easy over the Panthers. The Panthers have no chance still. Like their ceiling is 6 wins, maybe. Like that would be a great success. Giants, Vikings. I took the Giants just because I think both teams will be terrible. I don't know how anyone think. They're just like, people are really still talking themselves into maybe Sam Darnold will be good. Like, what are we doing? Why are we trying to force that narrative? Ooh, they signed Aaron Jones. Cool. Like, he's awesome. Don't get me wrong. But he's also always played behind a great quarterback. So we'll see how effective that is. Let's see. Tampa over Washington. You know, I said this already. Washington's roster is just not good. And Detroit beats the Chargers. Or the Rams, sorry. Detroit's going to be even better than they were last year, and they were already great. So it's like, I don't really believe in the Rams either. They just don't seem like they should be any good, and then they kept winning, and that was odd, but I don't know how that holds up. I think that evens out a little bit more. Okay. So that was the week 1 prediction, which I didn't know I was doing really. So there's that. We'll check on that next week, and then I guess when we check on them, I'll give the week 2. They won't be new predictions, though. I'm going to like base the whole season off my preseason, and we're not going to adjust probably until the playoffs. And then, of course, we'll just compare. But every week to do so many compare, contrast, be exhausting. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. If whatever. Okay, so now we're going to go through the AFC. Let's start with the North. This was a close battle, as the AFC North always is. I got the Ravens at 11-6 ahead of there. I think the addition of Derrick Henry is going to be huge, and they're going to be awesome. And they're always awesome, and it's really just a matter of what happens in the playoffs. I have no real worries about Lamar being great and them just continuing to dominate in the regular season as they do. The Bengals come in second at 11-6. Again, I mentioned the Joe Burrow thing. Like, if he's fine, they'll be great. And if he's not, we'll see. So that is the big if there. They're also 11-6. Baltimore just wins the tiebreaker, I guess. It auto does all the rankings, so I guess that's based on what I picked. Cleveland, I have them at 9-8 again. I think the defense just does a lot and kind of carries the team, and I think the offense makes enough plays. Nick Chubb, I don't think will bounce back right away. Maybe later in the season he'll kind of get a feel on. I don't know if that really works that way. It might just be till next year, but I hope he's good. That would be ideal for fans of football. But I don't know. That they wouldn't even replay the injury when it was happening, I remember, because it was so bad. So that's never a good sign. And then I have Pittsburgh at 8-9. I think the Russ Fields thing just goes on all year, and they go back and forth, and it's just kind of toxic, and they're the Steelers again. And I don't know if Mike Tomlin gets fired. I think that was just like smoke for TV. I think it would be absurd to fire that guy, but maybe it would be a spark for them to like really either pull off a massive trade or like truly go for a first rounder. But I don't know, you know. Even if they are 8-9, like it's not going to put you up with like primo draft position to get one of those guys. So I don't know. I don't know what happens in the end, but yeah, I just don't. I think their offense is still just going to be rough no matter what. We'll go to the South. I have the Texans winning that at 11-6. I think the rest of this division's dog shit. People are talking about like growing pains with Stephon Diggs. Like they can fucking cut Stephon Diggs if he is a problem. And people were shocked that they made the trade and like changed the deal. So it's only 1 year. It's like, no, that's why they did it. They don't want to be committed to Stephon Diggs for that exact reason. There's no way that he could completely tank their entire season. I think that's absurd. If anything, like I get it. What he does is annoying and kind of silly at times, but it's all in like a passion for winning. It's not as diva-y as just like, I need receptions. He wants the ball because the team is playing like shit. Like, I don't know. Like, I get where Stephon Diggs is coming from some of the time. But I just don't think he's like this locker room cancer or whatever. Like, he's been on team. This is his third team. It's not that crazy. You know, he's not Terrell Owens bouncing around every couple years. Plus, I mean, CJ Stroud. What more can you really say? I mean, the guy's unbelievable. Year 2 should be a breeze for him now. He is basically just fully in command and is already like a seasoned pro. So maybe that's the reason. It's like, this is just one big sophomore slump and the hype's there, but I just don't see it. I mean, the team did not get worse really in any way that I'm aware of. So I think they'll be fine. I have Jacksonville at 7-10. Like I said, I just don't believe in Trevor Lawrence. I don't think that they added pieces. They lost Calvin Ridley and then they got a rookie, which rookie receivers do well in the NFL. It's not that great, but you know what I mean? I just don't see it. Like I said, the defense, like who's on the team? I don't know that. Doug Peterson, is he real? Like, I don't think so. Colts, same thing. Like, I don't think Anthony Richardson's going to stay healthy unless they significantly change how they play him, and I think the way they play him is mandatory because he's not good enough to just drop back and pass straight up. So how do you win more than 7 games? I think 7 games is even generous. Tennessee, 5 wins. Maybe I was too hard on them. Like I did just say earlier, like I think they'll be better than people think. But I think as I was filling out the weekly picks, I think I just kept thinking in my head that they'll be bad. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, it's really all on Will Levis, and I'm not like, oh my God, I love Will Levis. You guys are missing this. Nobody else seeing what I'm saying? I don't think he's like better than Ryan Tannehill was at his. I mean, certainly not at his peak. That was like I loved that team, frankly. We'll see. I mean, I don't think that their best case is like above 500, but I don't think that there will be in like contention for the division or anything. Maybe a wild card. All right, we go to the East. I have the Bills at 11-6 winning, the Jets at 10-7 right below them, and the Dolphins at 9-8. So I thought that was interesting how that shook out. I just think the Dolphins do the same thing they did last year and kind of collapse down the stretch. I don't think, guys get banged up exactly the same way. I just think they basically have the same season again, and it works a little less in their favor. Unless they like reinvent their scheme completely again, they're gonna run into people being more prepared for what they're trying to do than they were before. The Jets, I think Aaron Rodgers makes it through the season, and I don't think he all of a sudden magically goes back to when he was 35. Like everybody's saying, oh, well, his last year in Green Bay, he was also kind of hurt, and then he tore his Achilles. So now he's going to go to the second to last year in Green Bay because now he's healthy again. It's like, well, a bunch of stuff did happen in between, though. It's not just like you don't just return backwards. Like you have to repair things. So that doesn't mean they go back to normal and that he gets younger magically. But I mean, Garrett Wilson is legit great. Breece Hall seems to be pretty damn good. The defense is definitely good. So they would get in the playoffs in this scenario at 10-7. Miami would not. They would be the 8th seed. And New England 3-14, I think that's about what everybody expects. Now, I would love it if Jacoby Brissett actually goes out there and balls out, because I've been a fan of Jacoby Brissett from day one. Can't even deny it. But he probably won't. But, maybe he'll finally get his chance, like Sam Darnold at 32 or however old he is. Shout out Jacoby Brissett. Love that guy. But we'll be rough for the Patriots, and I think if anybody's going to be the bigger bust of the draft, I think it would be Drake May, but we'll see. I just will never trust a North Carolina quarterback ever after what we went through. That leaves the West. Kansas City wins easy at 12-5. The Eagles end up with the best record in the NFL. We'll get there. But they win. They have the number 1 seed in the conference. Look, they went from having no receivers last year to just having at least guys you can name on top of what they had. So Rashee Rice apparently is going to be in zero legal trouble, so that's great for them. I think he is awesome on the football field. Questionable off of it, but that's not what we're here to discuss. They had Worthy, who's just a bonus if they can just get him on like 4 touchdowns a year. Like if he finishes with like 400 yards, but like 6 touchdowns and a bunch of big plays in between, like to get those yards, like that's enough. They re-signed Smith-Schuster, who was their best receiver 2 years ago, and then last year left and did not have a good season. But he'll fit right into the Chiefs' offense again, no problem. And they had Hollywood Brown. Again, these guys aren't like complete game wreckers, but when they had just Rashee Rice, like this is huge improvement for this team. Basically like the highest level role players you can ask for. I kind of think that their offense is going to be maybe not super explosive, but they didn't really do that last year out of necessity, but I think they'll be more efficient in every way. And, like how are they not better by default by just having like still massive upgrades at weapons? I mean, Kadarius Toney was useless and was never good and happened to just blow up in the Super Bowl and like kind of make his entire existence, seem like way more significant for just that. But like they're going to be awesome, I think, because he's just going to have competent receivers that can get to their spot. And he can be Mahomes, and a lot of pressure will be alleviated from him just by having way more skilled guys. And like I said, even though they're not game wreckers, like they're just going to be unstoppable. The Chargers, we already talked about them. I just believe in the Harbaugh bump. I also want Brendan Rice to be successful. Jerry Rice's son, I bought into him during the draft because I wanted the Bears to get him to go with Caleb. They were teammates at USC. Son of Jerry Rice. The Chargers also have no receivers. I mean, they have Quentin Johnston, who's unproven, and then they drafted Ladd McConkey, which, come on now, who I believe is hurt. So I hope Brendan Rice gets some reps, connection with Herbert, and that could be a nice, fun story. The Broncos talked about them as well. Bo Nix, what's going to happen? How well could that go? I just don't imagine well. 7-10. 7-10 for the Raiders. Talked about them as well. Same exact thing. What are we doing? Antonio Pierce. Good story. And can do enough. The team could have less wins. The Raiders could end up with 4 wins, and it wouldn't be shocking. So I think 7 is as well coached as this team could get. Yeah. So that leaves in the AFC, the Chiefs as the 1 seed, the Bills as the 2, the Texans as the 3, Ravens 4 seed, Bengals 5, Jets 6, and the Chargers get in as the last seed. The Dolphins just miss out. So that will take us over to the NFC, where, man, I am blasted, you guys. Like, this is... Whew. We're good. We're good. Water break. NFC East. Oh, boy. Philadelphia Eagles go 13-4 somehow. I really boofed on this one. Now, the Eagles easily could have their bounce back year and just be awesome. I think their biggest question is obviously center. We will truly find out just how much Jason Kelce meant, if it really is as much as everybody said this whole time or not. But the receiving core is great. They added Saquon Barkley, so like their running game is going to be awesome. I don't believe Kenneth Gainwell is off the team. Is he? We're going to look into this. In the new studio setup, we can do a little more on the fly stuff. Slightly more efficiently. No, Kenneth Gainwell's still on the Eagles. Yeah, they're going to be fucking set in the run game. What are we talking about here? 13-4. Let's go. Should have went 15-2. Fly, Eagles, fly. Flying on, fly. And I mean, the defense should be good. We'll see, though. I don't think that they like completely tank and miss the playoffs or something all of a sudden, though. I think that would be too crazy. But yeah, 13-4 is a lot. I think 12-5 for the Cowboys also potentially a lot. They have CeeDee Lamb and not really anybody else. I think Schultz is a really good tight end. But again, one of those guys I wouldn't call him a game wrecker. So it's like if you double CD, who else is gonna do anything? They also have no running game. It's a concern, is all I'm saying. But Micah Parsons is incredible. Their defense is really, really good. Don't know if the coaching change there is going to do anything with Dan Quinn leaving for Washington, who goes 5-12. You like that transition? Yeah, I just don't think they have any of the pieces there. You know, like Terry McLaurin's obviously very, very good, and we'll see about Jaden Daniels. I just think he probably gets hurt. Knock on wood, though, that he does not. I don't want that. I just hope that he's able to be protected back there. I think he maybe puts up some really good rushing numbers, like a la the Justin Fields 1,000-yard season. Maybe not 1,000 yards, but, you know, maybe he puts up like 800 rushing yards, but he gets sacked like 52 times or some shit, maybe more. The Giants 4-13. I could see their defense being a little better than people expect, just because, like, at least on paper, they got names up there with Thibodeau and Burns and Dexter Lawrence. Like, that's a good defensive line. Now, do they have anything else? Is their secondary complete trash? That's probably the case. But yeah, I was on the Daniel Jones hype train that first Brian Daboll year, and it has not seemed to look good for him post-injury. People are pretty out on him. So maybe it's Tommy DeVito once again. That's fun. He went to Illinois, so we can kind of rep that. That's fine. But yeah, Saquon Barkley for Devin Singletary, kind of tough. I think Malik Neighbors was a mistake and that they should have went offensive line. For me, now the Bears didn't do this, but I was going to say, if I'm a new GM and you're starting from nothing, I mean, we drafted one offensive lineman, I guess, but I would do the Chargers move, which the Chargers need other stuff, but it's like, if you don't have the O-line, why do it? Now, the Bears kind of have one that they piece together through various methods, but like they did not address it is my point. But I would just go tackle 2 first-round picks in a row. You know, center in the 3rd round. And then, you know, get your guards however you get your guards. If they end up being late-round picks or you trade for one or you sign a free agent or however that needs to go. But, like, you just you get the foundational pieces there. I don't know. Whatever. Whatever. Because, like, how are they going to have... I get that Malik Neighbors is fast and will get open fast, but is it enough time? Like, is Daniel Jones going to have 2.8 seconds even? I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see. Obviously, more exciting offensive players is great, and we will not shy away from it. But I don't see it. I don't see it. Detroit, they do have the best offensive line in the league. I love this team. Their offense plays a very unique scheme. They added a ton to their defense. I have them going 11-6, which I could see them going like 13-4 realistically also, and like dominating this year. They have great continuity everywhere. They came into last year with expectations, and they went to the fucking championship game, and they should have won it, and I should have hedged that bet. As soon as they didn't kick that field goal, it was over, and I lost. I could have hedged for like $220 out of $275 or something. It was absurd. Because it was like they were gonna win. Anyway. But it doesn't seem like they're too devastated from that. It seems like that truly built them up. And you kind of are supposed to lose in a tough playoff loss that helps you learn a lot, but you were competitive in. Like, that's the greatest fuel a team can ask for, I think, in this situation. So I think they do it 11-6. I think that the Packers are also good. I mean, you can't deny it. Josh Jacobs is great. So as long as he is healthy, that's a huge addition. The young receiving core, yeah, you can't deny it. Everybody knows it. Now, the Bears receiving core is better. The fact that the Packers were ranked higher, they were ranked number 1 by somebody on ESPN, that's just absurd. They're all still unproven for the most part. Like, yeah, they had a very good year last year. I mean, the team went 9-8 because Jordan Love struggled at the beginning. So I get it. It took time to build together. But we're acting like they fucking took the league by storm and were dominating teams last year. Their defense was bad, and everybody's like, oh, well, they just changed coordinators, so now it's fixed without really adding that much. So there's no guarantee that the defense will be significantly better. But I think the offense will, and Jordan Love is probably legit. There's a chance, though, it's like you're really just going to pay this guy off one season that was somewhat of a fluke, and he has a little bit of a regression, but I don't know. He does seem very legit, and that bothers me, but I think our guy's also legit. I think we also go 10-7, and we're still third in the division in standings, but I think we go 10-7. Which I don't think is that unreasonable. Again, the Bears had 3 double-digit fourth quarter leads that they blew and lost the game last year, and they went 7-10. So there's your 10-7 on a team that had substantially less talent and substantially less depth. So I just don't know how that's not good for at least 2 wins to add a bunch of depth. Like, we had injury problems and then nobody to fill them in. That cost us a couple games. And how about not having any receivers other than DJ Moore and Cole Kmet? And now we have a million. Everybody's an option. The defense is the only thing where we didn't have any significant additions. Just depth pieces. Kevin Byard as a starter is an upgrade at safety. I think we have the best secondary in the NFL. I would have liked better defensive line additions. Interior more so than edge. I don't know if we did enough. We'll see. Apparently, Javon Dexter has taken a big leap, and I think that will be a big factor into how this defense performs. But I do like that we at least have some depth with Darrell Taylor being added. The Judon move would have been a lot better for me. Apparently, it has come out that the real reason he chose Atlanta over Chicago is that we were not interested in signing him past this year at all, which was the whole reason he was in a stalemate with New England and Atlanta. It was at least open to negotiation, and I guess we just didn't want to lie. They might be lying, and he might be a free agent after this year. Who knows? I I think that would have made me convinced we'd be a playoff team if we had Matt Judon. But I really don't think that lacking one starter on the defensive line is going to be the reason we don't make the playoffs. We won't be able to patch that in. It seems the defense is now using a lot more blitzes, and it just seems like, again, having a competent coach and not a guy who got fired under mysterious circumstances as your D coordinator who didn't know how to answer any questions and didn't seem like he knew what he was doing in any capacity. And now we have a real D coordinator. It seems like the defensive line coaching has been substantially improved. And I just think when you have every other position on defense completely solidified, that unit is going to make up a little bit of the difference. Maybe we're still going to get gashed up the middle a little too much. Or maybe quarterbacks can run through the middle too much. There's not enough pressure straight on, and we have to rely on edge a lot. Stuff like that. But I don't think it's unrealistic for them to win. I think the floor for me is 8 games. I would be disappointed if the Bears could not win 8 games. Again, the main thing is just does Caleb look good? Again, knock on wood, we hope the entire Chicago Bears roster is healthy all year long. But if, let's say the defense just loses a bunch of guys and we just start giving up a crazy amount of points, and then we lose a bunch of games, but Caleb's still slinging it around and looks good, and that's all that truly matters about this season, because we have to think about, the ultimate goal is that this is our future long term, and so, we will win in perpetuity is the actual goal that we're looking for here. It's just that we're also so starved for any type of success that we want the success. But really, it's the look success. Does it look right? Does it look like this guy's going to be the guy for real moving forward? That's what this year is ultimately all about. But ideally, if it can come with going to the playoffs, that would be fucking awesome. It just bothers me when it's CJ Stroud doesn't happen all the time, and he certainly doesn't. And I think Caleb might throw a lot more picks than CJ Stroud did. I mean, I think he only threw 5 or 6 for the whole year. I just think nobody has ever had these kind of weapons year one. I think that we're severely underselling how good these skill guys are. Just because the Bears have specifically not been good. But DJ Moore had 1,300 yards last year. Keenan Allen had 100 receptions. Rome Odunze was the leading receiver in college football. DeAndre Swift, I don't have a stat for that, but he was fucking electric last year in Philly. I mean, Khalil Herbert's an explosive back that we can use on other downs. Gerald Everett is a great number 2 tight end. Tyler Scott, as a number 4 now, had a year under his belt in a bad offensive system and didn't look very good when he was out there, but has been doing well in camp. Has a chance to emerge as a guy who comes in and has a couple big plays here and there. Velus Jones may be working at running back. Now that's wishful thinking, but I'm just saying it's not crazy to think that he won't, he'll certainly have the best rookie year in Bears history. And if he doesn't, then that's disaster. But there's a chance that he has the best. He probably went to 30 touchdowns. That would be the Bears' new touchdown record. That's a lot. But he'll break the Bears' single season yardage record, I imagine. Nobody's ever got 4,000. I don't think it's unrealistic he could throw for 4,000 yards. His completion percentage might only be 60, 61. And he might throw 15 picks. But, are we going to act like it's not, he's going to be, a grave disappointment who's clearly struggling, so much? Because also, yeah, CJ Stroud doesn't happen every time, but look at guys who became guys. Did they ever have, a disastrous rookie year? You know, I mean, Joe Burrow, before he got hurt, was like 13 touchdowns, 5 picks. The team had like no wins, but he was not playing poorly. He was just doing the best he could because they had nobody on the roster. Mahomes was great right away because that team was stacked right away. You know, but like Ben Roethlisberger wasn't good as a rookie. Oh, I guess that's a clean example. But he also wasn't like a disaster. I mean, that team made the playoffs, I think, kind of in spite of him. But I don't know. It's just like, yeah, Bryce Young was a disaster. That team was a disaster. I just don't see how you compare Bryce Young's situation to Caleb's. You know? Anyway. 10-7 for the Bears. Vikings, I have at 6-11. Like I said, I just don't see it at all. Like, you're banking on Sam Darnold. That's just so crazy. He's not good. He'll maybe play well 4 games, and you'll probably lose 2 of those. Like, I get Justin Jefferson is awesome. And TJ Hawkinson's very good. But, like, come on now. I don't think a lot of people are, like, picking them to make the playoffs. I just think, like, people think Sam Darnold might be sneaky okay. But, like, if you have the Vikings in the playoffs and not the Bears, like, that's crazy to think. To think that, like, the Bears can have the weapons they have with Caleb Williams, who's a highly touted number 1 overall pick, and compared to Sam Darnold, who was a high pick but has proven to not be very good whenever he has played. And I get it, Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL, but that doesn't just mean that, like, all the evidence we have just gets thrown out the window. You know? Next, we go to the NFC West. San Francisco wins it at 11-6. You know, I just think they keep rolling. Ricky Pearsall just got shot. Glad that he is okay. That is crazy. But I don't think that is going to, like, scare the team. I think, if anything, that brings them together. Like, I don't think that that'll have, like, a negative impact on the season. Like, especially since he is, like, totally fine, it seems, in, like, every way. I think he left the hospital already. Ayuk just signed the contract. He dragged it out forever and then just signed the contract that was offered from the beginning. So I think that's kind of silly, but at least that's settled. I think Brock Purdy is legit. I think it's weird to say that he isn't. I think you're just looking at where he was drafted and you just don't want it to be real. But, like, the dude was slinging it. And, yeah, the team is good. When the team is good, that's awesome. Like, what? So what if he couldn't do it somewhere else? He's doing it here. Like, what? That argument is so weird. Like, I think he is making plays himself also. It's not entirely like Jared Goff on the Rams. I understood the questions there because it was so easily shut down in the Super Bowl and stuff like that. But that's not what Brock Purdy is. I mean, they made it to the Super Bowl. You know, and they made it to the title game the year before. Like, he's legit. And the team is legit, of course. But what are we talking about? The Rams, I think they will go 9-8. But again, I just don't. Like, that's a decent record. And I think that's above their level still. Like, I just don't see it. You know, I guess I kind of am in the camp that just thinks Matt Stafford's washed. But there's not really any reason to think that. And I think he's probably going to light it up. But no Aaron Donald for the first time. Right? He wasn't on the team last year. Was he on the team last year? Whatever. I don't know. The point is the defense is not going to be that great. Jalen Ramsey's gone. Who's on the Rams defense? I don't know. Seahawks. I just think they're a middle of the road no matter what. 9-8. A lot of people love Mike McDonald. Sure, maybe the defensive scheme will be awesome and there'll be a better defense, but, like, it just seems like the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett thing has not performed up to what it should. Like, that duo should be a perennial playoff offense no matter what. Like, that team should be electric, and maybe that means Geno isn't the guy. I don't know. Although, did they make the playoffs the first year? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Also, how long is Geno going to be your guy? Like, he's already 34, 35. I get that if it keeps working, keep sticking with it. And, like, maybe this whole new coaching staff and everything is what you need to get, like, push ahead and level up one more. So maybe they're giving it one more year. I don't know. But it just kind of seems like they don't really have a plan there, and I could just be not aware. Cardinals 6-10. They have no defense at all. Who's on the team? No idea. Kyler fully healthy, so if the offensive line is any good, I have no idea. That could be fun with Marvin Harrison, so we'll see. But that's a team. Those two, like the West in general, is just a team where, like, I don't know. I feel like they're maybe just not talked about nationally as much, or I'm just really not paying attention, but I kind of have no idea what's going on in the NFC West, like, at all. Holy shit. You guys, we're in the dog days of the dog days right now. We're grinding it out. We got one more division left here. I'm so high. My fingers are so stiff. I'm going to cut my fucking fingers off. Tampa wins it at 9-8 again. I think that was exactly what happened. Atlanta goes 8-9. Like I said, the way I ran this through, I'm pretty sure they were like 4-9, and then they won a bunch in a row. I think I maybe kind of forced that to happen too. So the week-to-week comparison, I do like that idea because I think it's going to be comically different than it really is. Because, like, I think the Bears also started like 8-1 or something on here. Like, it just got absurd. So I kind of like market corrected the whole thing. But yeah, I just don't believe in Atlanta. Too dysfunctional, too chaotic. Raheem Morris will maybe be a good head coach on his second time around, but there's no evidence of that. And I just think the front office is obviously a fucking disaster. They do nothing but make silly moves. But they do have a lot of talent. That's the thing. They had a Darnell Mooney. That's our guy. I'm going to root for him. But we'll see. I mean, it's really just going to come down to, is Kirk Cousins healthy? And if he's not, then, I mean, is Michael Penix legit? Which he could maybe be. I don't know. The Saints, they're just a disaster. I mean, there's no reason to believe in them. I don't even know who's on their offense anymore. Like, they still have Alvin Kamara, but, like, is he still really got it? I don't really know. No offense, Alvin Kamara. I would love it if you do. You're electric. Derek Carr is not very inspiring. Who's on their defense? Same thing. I couldn't name anybody except probably Cameron Jordan still on the team. Yeah. Just no real reason to believe in the Saints. I don't know. Oh, well, they have that receiver. Right. What's his? I'm too high to think of it, but he was Olave. Right. He's good, but I mean, what are the Saints going to win 12 games all of a sudden? Like, I just don't see it. Dennis Allen, what's he ever done? The Panthers 3-14. That may be harsh. I don't really think so. I mean, they paid a lot of money for guards. Maybe that works. Maybe the offensive line it needs to be at least 50% better than it was. And Bryce Young has a little bit of time to throw with added Deontay Johnson. I love Deontay Johnson personally, but it just seems like you double Deontay Johnson, and now they're the same Panthers team that they were last year. So who do they got? I think they added a rookie running back who was pretty highly regarded out of Texas, but it's like, is that going to move the needle? If the offensive line really makes the stride, that's the whole thing. But they've now traded away every star player that they had that they should have been building around. DJ Moore is gone, and Brian Burns is gone from the defense. So I don't think there's any reason to have any positive thoughts about their defense either. If I was a Panthers fan, man, I would hate that owner. That guy sucks. He really destroyed everything. But I'm not a Panthers fan. I'm a Bears fan, and I love that owner because he completely turned our entire franchise around. And we play them, I think, before mid-season, like maybe week 5 or 6, something like that. I'd have to double check. But I think that will be so sweet when we whip the shit out of them. and fuck Bryce Young up. That game, at the very least, will just prove that we did everything right and they did everything wrong. And if we lose that game, it will probably be the most devastating thing that ever happened. So to recap the NFC, Philly's the 1 seed, Detroit's 2, San Francisco 3, Tampa's 4, Dallas 5, Green Bay 6, Bears 7. So that leads us to the playoff simulator, in which, in the AFC, we have Bengals, Texans. I take the Bengals. I think, while I said I'm concerned about Joe Burrow's injury, I'm implying with this season outline that it's not a problem and they do well and, they're just more seasoned, so they win. KC beats the Jets. KC at home, come on, against the Jets. Buffalo beats the Chargers. They're just more talented. What can you do? Tampa beats Dallas at home. I think same thing as last year. They just get another surprise win early on. San Francisco beats Green Bay. Talent wins. What can you do? And then I have the Bears as an upset over the Lions because defensive rivalry, and wouldn't that be exciting? Oh my God, we get one win. Definitely a homer pick, but that's fun. So then round 2, AFC. Hang on here. Come on. There we go. We got Bills over Chiefs. I think Josh Allen finally gets over the hump, beats Patrick Mahomes. He is at home. I think they finished with the same record, but because of seeding, they got the home game there. Bengals, Ravens. I got the Ravens. I think Lamar finally also gets over the hump and plays well in the playoffs, gets a win. Derrick Henry, big help there. San Francisco demolishes Tampa, and Philly demolishes the Bears. Again, riding Philly high just by default. They were the 1 seed, and I couldn't have the Bears go to the championship game and take myself even remotely seriously. Ravens, Bills. I think, once again, Lamar shows up. This is finally the Lamar proves the haters wrong year, and I'm a Lamar playoff hater. I think he is terrible in the playoffs and really does need to prove himself. And I think both him and Josh Allen do that this year, and they just get the win at home. Their defense will probably be better than the Bills' offense overall. Boy, Roquan. I do not like the Ravens, so I wasn't thrilled about doing this. And then the 49ers beat the Eagles, which would leave a Ravens-49ers Super Bowl. And I'm going to take the Ravens. And I think that that's crazy because Lamar has not proven it at all. But Kyle Shanahan also can't win the big one. No, crazy year. Crazy year. Josh Allen and Lamar both get out of Mahomes' shadow to face each other in the title game. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, each week I will go through my preseason prediction for the upcoming week. No, I'll review my results from the preseason prediction of that week. So next week, I'll review my week 1 predictions and see how they fared. And then I will give my preseason week 2 prediction again, and we'll see how it fares. Or I can just compare it. We don't need to give it out a week in advance. I'll just compare it. That's better. Way to go, Adam. We figured it out. We talked it out together. So I'm Adam Pecora, and I'm really high. This was the NFL on Edibles, a Sports Corner exclusive edition of Requiem for a Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. Check out all the links in the description below. We got lots of goodies for you. There's merch at rfat.bigcartel.com. You can follow me on Instagram at adam.rfat. There's music. Subscribe to the podcast, rate the podcast, review the podcast, share the podcast. Get this podcast out there. Thanks to everybody who already is a subscriber. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back next week, not as high, maybe talk about a couple movies, and we will definitely be doing a sports corner. I will either be devastated or elated by my Chicago Bears. So that's going to be exciting. That'll be episode 199, 200. Thinking about maybe doing a little something special. We'll see how that goes. This has been Requiem for a Tuesday. And remember, I are fat. You are fat. We are fat. Calculator.